Well, welcome back from the break. I know it's hard to start after the first break. There's good coffee and good conversation out there, and network is also what this is all about. But I think we have to get started to get back to the program. But thank you. It's a great honor to be allowed to moderate this session. My name is Christina Hvid, and the reason I'm here today is that I'm the member of the board at buildingSMART International. I'm also CEO of buildingSMART Denmark and CEO of Moutte, which is the Danish Construction and Information Center. Moutte is, as I said, the Danish Construction and Industries Information or Knowledge Center in Denmark. It's both for buildings and infrastructure. And Moutte is a unifying independent organization where the entire value chain of the construction industry can strengthen their competences and get access to specific digital tools. It's digital tools that streamline the construction process, increases the digitalization, and also support sustainability, and thereby secure the golden thread. And exactly the golden thread is the topic that we are going to talk about in this session. And for me, as a business leader today, the focus has to be on efficiency and sustainability. The definition of the golden thread, in my opinion, therefore is to have connected, structured, and usable data and information at the building projects, not only inside the one and only company, but in and across the whole value chain, and also for the operations and maintenance afterwards when the building is built. The summit program for this session says that good information management is seen as a golden thread connecting data with positive outcomes. And positive outcomes is what we're going to hear today. At this session, we are going to, in a minute, hear from 4 business leaders, and we are going to hear from them how and why the right approach to information and data management can give significant value to all the stakeholders in the built environment. And the good information and data management with Open BIM as a golden thread is typically seen as an opportunity. But in Denmark, where I come from, we have ICT regulations for larger public sector construction projects since 2007. The national ICT regulation says that the public client must require and ensure that the building information model are made available in IFC format. And that regulation actually helps us to develop the skills and the competences in the industry and to make the value chain in the whole construction industry grow regarding BIM. And also regarding the good information and data management with Open BIM as a golden thread is, in my opinion, part of the industry movement in the focus on sustainability. Recently, I gathered, together with Moutte, 20 top-level CEOs across the construction industry's value chain. They met several times during 8 months, and they agreed upon what they thought should be the most central actions to take for us as an industry to develop a more sustainable construction sector. Some of the most important action they pinpointed was, we need a common digital language, we need Open BIM, that was not what they called it, but that was what they meant, and we need access to all the relevant data to look at the life cycle impact of the construction. The 20 CEOs across the value chain said that we need to document, measure, manage, and develop the sustainability. That's why we need it. They also saw that it's our industry's license to operate in the soon future. It was important for them with a seamless golden thread of data and information, and I personally fully agree with that. And that is why I find it very interesting to what we're going to hear here today, because now we have the joy of these 4 industry leaders, as you see up here, and they will take us and give us insights about their own approach to the golden thread. And they have maximum 18-20 minutes each, and I look very much forward to hear what they have to tell us. First, we have Javier Lozano, and he's a civil engineer, and you can just come up here, Javier. at the Adif. He has had more than 15 years of experience with infrastructure projects at Adif, and you have been responsible for the implementation of BIM in Adif since its start back in 2016. And you're going to give us some insights about your digital transformation.
Yes.
So let's give him a hand and welcome.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you very much. Good morning to you all. Even more than good morning, what a great morning this is. We are in a fantastic event like this summit. We are in an amazing city like East Valencia, so I hope you can enjoy a lot. When I saw first the title of the summit, Achieving Sustainability Goals with Open BIM, and I saw the next title for our keynote set that we are right now, the golden thread, the first thing that came to my mind was, of course, a field, a sea full of infinite data, full of infinite information, with flows everywhere of information, like a seamless thread, a golden thread, going through information from one point to another. And of course, that's the easy one. That's the visualization, the graphic visualization of a golden thread, talking about information as gold, talking about a thread like digital continuity, and that's the let's say the easy visualization. There is of course a lot more. We can go even to this kind of visualizations, surreal, from Dalí, from De Chirico, so on. We can think about anything we want talking about information, because if we do anything in this world, in our work, in our daily work, is manage information. Not only in Adif, but I'm pretty sure that in all your works is about managing information. So today we are going to see what Adif is doing, what different strategies and plans and initiatives we have. And just one example about our BIM implementation is developing a better way of managing information. And of course, my goal is that you find this interesting, but above that, you find this useful. Let's start with some information about Adif. For those that you don't know it, it's the Spanish Railway Infrastructure Manager. It's a public company attached to the Spanish Ministry of Transport and Sustainable Mobility. We are responsible for the design, the construction, the supervision, the maintenance of the rail network, but also the network traffic management and the stations. And we, of course, have a vision and a mission to be a benchmark as an organization focused on the management of resilient, sustainable, safe, and intelligent infrastructures that contribute to the new model of ecological transition. So, first concept, please, intelligent infrastructure. There is in the vision, in the mission, operate, manage, and build an intelligent railway network adapted to the new technological, competitive, and sustainable ecosystem, thus contributing to the sustainable development goals. New concepts here, adapted to the new technological and sustainable ecosystem. How important this is for us. Just some global figures. We manage almost 16,000 kilometers of rail network with 4 kinds of track gauges, more than 4,000 kilometers of high-speed network. That is the second largest of the world. We have right now more than 1,900 kilometers of high-speed lines under construction or in the design phase. We manage almost 1,500 passenger stations and 38 freight terminals. Every year runs more than 2 million trains and more than 300,000 services of high speed. In the last 25 years, we have invested more than 57,000 million euros in our network, and we are over 12,000 employees. This is our network. As you can see, it's highly centralized in Madrid, although we are heavily investing in the Mediterranean corridor. There we are in Valencia, in the mid-east part of the map. Talking about financial figures and so on, we invest every year thousands of millions of euros for developing new infrastructure, commuter lines, upgrading, enhancement, and of course, the maintenance of the network, of a rail network that is growing every year. We have, and it is very important for us to explain the deep strategic plan that we have towards the year 2030, with 4 great pillars: safety, service, sustainability, performance orientation, and 3 great levers: communication, innovation, and digital transformation. You can see that digital transformation is in the bottom part as the foundation of all the work that we have to do towards complying and towards developing this strategic plan. We have these sets of incredible challenges ahead of us: the liberalization, the expansion and improvement of the network, the track gauge strategy, the generational replacement, the social cohesion, equality and diversity, mobility and connectivity, social sustainability, climate change and energy transition, impact and adaptation to disruptive technologies. So, as you can see, we are in the top level of our strategy right now, talking about this, and people is for sure, and we have no doubt about it, that this Adif's a great driving force. So just some figures. This is quite overwhelming. This is a word that we hear a lot when we talk about our strategy plan. No, the overwhelming of the figures: 4 pillars, 3 levers, 27 strategic goals, 18 plans, 92 strategic initiatives. And in order just to get a little bit deeper in one of them, just talking a little bit about the sub-pillars that support, for example, the sustainability pillar, that are based in social, financial, governance, environmental. If we go a little bit deeper and we see 3 of the main plans of the environmental sub-pillar, we can see that we have a plan for ecological transition plan, for circular economy plan, a plan to combat climate change. And if we get a little bit deeper into this, for example, we see that we have scopes, we have lines of action, for example, energy management, energy efficiency, decarbonation and renewal, and so on. And we have programs. I mean, let's go even deeper. Programs like the smart grid implementation, the telematics measurement and control system, management measures. So you see where I'm going. I'm going that we are structuring all the information of the pillars, sub-pillars, goals, activities. I mean, we have a huge amount of work right now going on, and we have to structure in the best way possible, because if not, it's almost impossible to achieve anything with this kind of ambition that we have. And of course, everything with hundreds of KPIs that are monitoring everything that goes on. If we see one of the pillars, in this case, digital transformation, we see that we also, one of the levers, sorry, that is digital transformation, we can see that the pillars that are part of this lever is agility, process automation, data-driven, response to change, customer focus, digital culture. So we can go even deeper than that. We have lines of action, like, for example, smart services, operations for 4.0, and business models, corporate processes, culture 4.0, digital architectural governance. And of course, we have also all the plans and initiatives that are part of this digital transformations plan and so on. Here is the BIM implementation of the technological platform. Okay, as you can see, it's a transversal initiative in this map. It's not an initiative transversal for the strategic plan. It's a whole plan that is one of the most special plans that we have in our strategic plan, because it's totally transversal. It affects design, it affects construction, it affects the maintenance, it affects asset management. So it affects almost all the core business of Adif. If we could get a little bit deeper, just give you some context of when we started with BIM. This is just a super simplified timeline. We started with inception in 2016. In 2017, it was a year more of a study, scope definition thing. In 2018, we set the first information requirements, and we understood that we needed a procurement to help us to implement BIM. In 2019, we constituted the Adif's BIM committee with more than 50 people part of the committee representing their areas. We also did a tendering process for the BIM implementation. In 2020, we have a fully BIM specifications deployment in order just to do more than 20 projects. We started our initial training of Adif's staff. In 2021, we constituted, just with 5 experts at the time, a BIM technical bureau to help us and help Adif's areas to implement BIM. In 2022, we fully deployed our first BIM standards for design and construction. And in 2023, we deployed our CDE that is mandatory, as you will see, for all the design and all the construction activities that we have. At the time, this is a slide that we did in just more than 3 years ago. You can see that the Open BIM approach was the first one, then is the first right now. I mean, for us, it's something absolutely mandatory. I mean, we want Open BIM, we develop Open BIM, all our processes are focused in doing Open BIM, and that's why it's been always the first in this slide talking about how is our implementation, our BIM implementation done. Of course, there is a lot of things here, like, for example, all the integration of the BIM processes that we are doing, all the BIM methodological specifications and information requirements that we're developing, making information exchange easier. Very important, of course. Technology must make things easier. We have an asset lifecycle approach, no doubt about it. I told you before, we, of course, are infrastructure managers, and it's mandatory for us, of course, to attend the life cycle of our assets, all the information captured at every stage with a specially focus on the training program, and to assist in an actively way all our internal customers, but also external customers that are doing BIM with us. The vector of change, I told you before, a BIM committee, the external consultant with long BIM experience that was granted in 2019 to Ickmans to help us to develop and implement BIM, and a technical bureau that, of course, has been a great part of this voyage. Our lines of action of the implementation are the usual suspects, like processes, BIM system or the standard BIM, specifications or BIM requirements, training, and ICT systems. As you can have the presentation, you can later on review this talk. Of course, you have a little bit more information about the lines of action. Of course, we have phases in this implementation. The first one, the phase one, we call it the BIM delivery. We wanted a digital delivery of all files that our partners that were working with us were working in, with a specially detailed process in how document management was being made. We have made lots of templates, contractual documentation and specifications. We have a guide, for example, for digital meetings inside the CDE. We have done 2D CAD drawings, 5D measurements, coordination, and so on. Also for the first phase, but for phase 2 and phase 3 regarding digital building surveys, as building BIM, more 5D and 4D in a deeper way, assets and data flow, digital engineering, BIM GIS implementation that for us is very, very key. And right now we are in 2024, and we're talking right now about how we can manage our assets and how we can do our maintenance with BIM. So it's not fully finished at this part. Sergio, in the first talk about the national BIM plan for public procurement. What an amazing lever this is for us and for all our public companies. The 1st of April is right here, and we need to achieve the early level, as it's called. Of course, we in Adif are in the best position just to comply with this plan, and even in 2025 and 2027, when we can go to the intermediate or the advanced level, we are fully confident that there is no problem because we started with our BIM implementation long ago. But the integrated level, the 5 level towards 2030, that's a big challenge because we are talking here about integrating lots and lots of information and applications. Let's get a little bit deeper in Adif. No, we have a quality system that is very mature. It's very complex also because it has more than 1,000 documents. And in 2016, 2017, when we faced how to implement BIM, imagine this thought: how we can fight this monster of documentation. I mean, it was also very overwhelming at the time. We made a methodology for, in this case, analyze and study in the best detailed way we could all our processes, and we can say that we have review all the design and construction processes. We have our own BIM process inside the quality system right now, and we have made all the modification proposals to integrate BIM in all our activities. What we did at the time was, as you can see in the right image, is to fully think how BIM could help us to improve our processes. And each colored box that you see here, it's an improvement that was categorized in these 10 categories. Finally, over those more than 1,000 documents, 220 documents were impacted by BIM. We have proposed more than, well, 280, a little more, but 280 improvements that are already in our documentation. And we are right now in the approval parts of some of this documentation. Why? Because we are not the owners, of course, of that documentation, and are the owners who have to approve these documents when they review them. They have to do some tests sometimes and so on in order to fully be convinced that these proposals are going to be the right ones for them. We have made a huge BIM documentation set. You can see it there. We have, for design and construction, parts 1 and parts 2 documentation. We have an MIDP template. We have a 2D documentation guide. Lots of guides, as you can see. Collision management and coordination, 4D, 5D, commercial visualization, digital meetings, on-site monitoring, digital surveys, as-built models guide, CD guide for Adif suppliers also, data generation guide, attribute matrix guide, coding and classification, inventory, IFC guide. We are in the buildingSMART Summit. We have done an internal IFC guide for our suppliers and for us. We have a BIM execution plan analysis template, a BIM execution plan preparation template, quality control template, supervision guide to audit. I mean, as you can see, once these documents are approved, because they are in a draft state since 2 years ago, but we are in the best position right now because this month we are going to approve them all. Of course, we have a big set of specifications and BIM requirements. This is what we call the requirements types 1 to 5 and their combination. The type 1 is just, we work as always, but you use the CDE to manage your information, or you have, for example, a type 5, as we call it, that is the creation of models and other BIM documentation. We have had 89 tenders over these last years regarding BIM modeling, as you can see, with the type 5 type of documentation. And this is one of the key points of our implementation. We want the best possible BIM requirements in our tendering processes. We have trained a lot of people also, as you can see there. We have trained 820 people of the Adif's staff, and we have developed 196 training hours. The point is not if it's too much or if it's about that every hour has been specially designed for Adif's staff in order to maximize the return of the investment, of course. We have 2 virtual training courses inside our virtual platform. And just to finish, talk a little bit about our CDE, how important has been for us the implementation of the CDE and how important it's going to be. Of course, our CDE has all the tools that we need to work, not all. We are developing and it's a long road ahead. But for us, of course, we have at least a single and reliable source of centralized information. And of course, we have found that these have improved our collaboration a lot. We made 5 documents in order to tender our CDE, a justification for the need to adopt a CDE. We had an analysis of almost 400 applications that were impacted by BIM inside the company. We have lots of applications. We made an architecture to support all the systems to implement BIM. We did a BIM system market analysis. And finally, we did a tendering where we could get the CDE. We wanted a CDE. We didn't want an ECMS. What we wanted was a CDE because we wanted, of course, a model viewer, but to enable BIM model uses. This is our one of the slides of the infrastructure of the architecture, sorry, of the ICT department, that you can see that the red dashed line is the CDE, and there is a lot ahead to do regarding 4D, 5D, databases, and how we can manage to cross databases and the information in the databases with all the Adif current databases. So a long way to go. We had 110 functional and technical requirements in the tendering process for the CDE. Finally, we had also a lot to do when we had the CDE in order to ask the steering committee to do a mandate to use it. And it was from the 1st of January of last year that is mandatory, as I said, for design and construction. We, of course, had a lot of basic elements done, of course, complying with the ISO, file naming standard, folder structure standard, big roles standardization in order to work inside the CDE. And as you can see here, right now, there are 296 spaces, almost 2,000 users. We have, and this for us is a big figure here. We have right now 134 companies working inside the CDE for us. And just a conclusion, I will leave the conclusions to you, but just one thought about the tapestry of our BIM implementation. It's a great example, at least for us, of how the chart the path of Adif's digital transformation with a golden thread of improved managed information. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And just before you leave stage, I would like to say that the Spanish government with you in Adif has made a lot of plans, a lot of programs, a big strategy, and it's super high ambitions you have. Very impressive, actually. So that's impressive. But if you just in one or maybe 5 words should say, what is the biggest barrier for you in the digital transformation towards the golden thread? What is that?
A very good question, of course. I mean, it's change management. It's, of course, the ultimate challenge to implement not only BIM, but everything regarding digital transformation.
Yeah,
for sure.
So it comes back to the people.
Yeah, always is the people.
Always the people, yeah. Thank you. Let's give Javier the last hand. And now I would like to welcome the next speaker on the stage. It's Joseph Ickmans. He's the chairman of the Digitalization and BIM Committee at EFCA, the European Federation of Engineers Association, or something like that, right?
I'll explain.
You have been working with the implementation of BIM on tunnel and bridge project, and you have worked in EFTA to strengthen the collaboration with buildingSMART International with a common workout last summer.
Yes.
We look very much forward to hear what you have to say from an engineer perspective. Welcome on stage.
Thank you very much. So we continue on the golden thread, but then from an engineering perspective. My name is Joseph Ickmans. I work for Tractebel Engineering, which is quite a large international engineering company. And we basically do everything that is needed for engineering. But in my free time, I also assist and chair the Digitalization and BIM Committee at EFCA. And EFCA is the European Federation of Engineering Consultancy Associations. So it's a whole name. But what is EFCA? We represent basically the engineering industry in Europe. And we consist of 28 member associations that each on their turn represent their national organizations of engineering and represent FIDIC in Europe. And EFCA is divided in a couple of working committees and working groups, each on specific topics, like, for example, the European Green Deal, but also one of the biggest committees is the Digitalization and BIM Committee, which I'm very proud of to be a member of. So, okay, maybe just a short slide about what is engineering consultancy, because everybody probably think on an engineer with the white hat and problem solver and doing design, and that's of course still our core business. But you see in many countries in Europe that it's really evolving beyond that at the moment. So we are also very much involved, aside from the technical management, where we do all kinds of engineering, from geotechnical engineering, civil engineering, structural engineering, risk analysis, landscaping, permitting, all kinds of engineering services. We nowadays also are quite often involved and asked by clients, both public and private clients, to take on project management of certain big projects, contract management, because certainly in very big infrastructure project is crucial how you make your contract infrastructure and put the risks at the right place. And environment management, and that in the broader sense of the word, which is not only referring to permitting issues, pollution questions and stuff like that, but also to involve your stakeholders in your projects. Specifically, if you have projects where you're in a very dense environment in cities, we see that communication with public or movements is very important for your design. So we are involved in basically all phases of the project, starting from due diligence, feasibility, all the way up to refurbishment of projects. And we are very closely connected to stakeholders as a whole. And from that perspective, it's also important then to know, and there's a reason for the slide also, that we are often also asked to organize the complete digital framework for these projects, which is quite a challenge. And that brings me then, okay, where are we in Europe, in the public and the private sector? What we see is a very strong push towards digitalization and a more greener circular economy. And this is not only coming from the policymakers, so from the EU or the European Commission, because many of you probably know that these are the goals of the European Commission. And although there are elections this year, it seems that they will even further enforce this for the next following years. But it's also coming from the contractors and the sector themselves, because they see the benefits certainly for digitalization. They really are also pushing towards the digitalization on it. So what is the position of the engineering sector on that? So we are really very much in line with that, not only because the clients demand it, but also because of the internal organization and vision of the engineering companies. It's really very much in line with these push. And the advantages are obvious and probably passed already so many times here on the buildingSMART international summits, is the boosting quality, less waste, more green. But also from an engineering point of view, we really like the fact that we like to call BIM information management rather than BIM information modeling, because it's, to our point of view, really also an enforced way of aligning different stakeholders, which is important. It also brings innovation and the fact that your data hopefully doesn't get lost, and okay, the chances for that are lots less with data transfer and the creation of digital twin. That's also something for the future that is really interesting. But there are also challenges. So if we look at the challenges in digitalization, well, for the engineering sector, it's quite an investment because next to the acquisition of software, it always means a certain learning curve. And in your organization, you have people that are used to working a traditional way, so you need to change. Like the previous speaker said, it's change management. It's important, and it is an investment. It also means a change of tasks and responsibilities. Working in a BIM environment is not the same as in a traditional classical way of doing engineering. I would say we have a new contractual partner. I would say something that comes up in the discussions we have in our committee often. That is ICT. In the traditional contracts, it's non-existing. We have a contract between a client and an engineer and an architect and a contractor. But IT is becoming a very important player in this too. And I think this is also a challenge to get that aligned, certainly with regard to liabilities, etc. I'll come back to that later a little bit. Aligning information delivery is always a challenge, and data transfer is not always like we want it to be. There's also the risk, always a risk data gets lost if you don't do it in the right way, updates. But if we look then to what is the construction or engineering sector, I said here construction sector because that was the reason for my first slide, that we have a pretty good idea how construction sector as a totality works on that, is that we have a need for data accessibility for longer lifespans. And this is really, if you compare that to the lifespan of the tools that we're using, it's something to think about. It's a worry. Also interoperability. I saw the slide in the previous presentation with the landscape of different software tools. It's even for one project is massive. If you have a big project, it is enormous. So you talk about dozens of different tools, not only in modeling, but also with CDE. Also, I remember in a project right now where we have 4 different CDE platforms collaborating together to get the job done. It's really a challenge. Ownership of data is also something that is a concern, especially if you talk about common data environment, because you put your intellectual data or property on the platform, but who is owning the platform? If everything goes well, then it's everybody's happy, but it not always goes well. So you need to be careful that you have access to your data. And a last point I put also here is the necessity for basis of comparison of data. Certainly, if we talk about data related to sustainability, it's very important that we have a solid basis and a standard basis of comparison. So why does EFCA promote open standards and open BIM? Well, it's basically to counteract against what I, in my previous slide had, is ensuring that we have that data accessibility over a long lifespan that is independent of changes in the ICT market. If we talk about an asset like a tunnel or something that has a lifespan of 100 years, okay, it's fair to say that not everybody's still around by that time, but you still need the data. It's also about, in our point of view, boosting about the device diversity of the market in BIM tools. It's about promoting and assisting interoperability between the different software tools. And the last point, if we are really serious about this more green circular economy, well, I think that better basis of comparison is really it's open data that we need for that to make that comparison. I think it's at the heart of what we need. So in EFCA, what do we do then? Of course, we are very proud to start collaboration together with buildingSMART International to share our thoughts on the industry with buildingSMART and to hopefully also see, okay, where are the pitfalls? How does it interact with the reality and the practice of projects in the construction sector? So that's what we call a collaboration and advice here on the left-hand side. We also collaborated in the past with initiatives like DigiPlace and GaiaX, which really is about creating a framework for collaboration platforms. And we are also connected to the policymakers in the European Commission, which are developing and have developed already several legislation documents like the Data Act and so on. And we are really working and collaborating with them also to give our insights on the business and help them make better policies for everybody. But we of course monitor what's going on now. We are connected to ISO and CEN, the European Normalization Institute, and we are connected to EU BIM task group. At the same time, what we see is that a lot of the concerns in our committee, we often discuss this because we all believe very much in digitalization. But we also, we are engineers and we know the practical side of it, and we see some pitfalls. And we see around us that we do have a common ground with other representative organizations like organization ACE from architects, but also the contractor organizations. And we try to find common ground to give also things that really are a worry in this evolution that we want in digitalization to bring out a strong message there. So at this moment, what are we supporting, or what is our focus at the moment in the current developments in digitalization? It's really about, first of all, boosting open standards by potential clients, by, for example, providing contractual clauses and how to do it, learning modules, debunk the myths that are about open BIM. I guess in the audience here, everybody is very much pro open BIM, but I can assure you it's not always the case if you go to a client and have to convince somebody that open BIM is the way to go. There are a lot of things that fly around and in the conversations where people say, well, yeah, but it's not too good, it cannot do this and it cannot do that. And I think it's really something that we should do. It should work on how can we help that and provide the tools for that. I think it's also about addressing and supporting the practical implementation, about of new technologies like artificial intelligence, digital twin, which is upcoming. It's about sharing experience on information delivery requirements and validation, and endorse correct validation of data transfer to open standards. So we really believe that certainly if we talk about how we get a correct validation of that, yeah, there's a buzz, but it's not me, I think. I think really that the certification is a very important tool for the future. We really see it as a sort of a quality stamp that will help in the discussions on being able to have a quality product there, and I think buildingSMART can play a huge role there. And yeah, the last slide is really about imagining future developments. So I saw this morning that some of the things I've put here on the slide are already in certain initiatives, which is good. So I can learn on that too, I see. But I do think it needs to be more global. It's first of all, it's really strengthen development and the deployment of open standards that relate to sustainable data. It's not common knowledge to everybody, and I think this is really something that we should put some emphasis on. I do also believe, well, not only me, the committee that I represent also believe that we can take, or we should take open standards to the next level, which means that we're not only talking about open standards for models, we do also talk about open standards for common data environments. There's a lot of data being shared, certainly thinking about accessibility over time. It is really important that this is covered in the future. I do think we have a way to go there. And a last point that I put here is that we as a sector, as engineering sector, we also believe that in the near future, we launch also a much better collaboration with ICT sector, because we strongly believe in digitalization. We don't want to stop the innovation and the development that it brings, but at the same time, we have concerns from the industry. And certainly, for example, what I talked about, the fact that IT is completely missing in contractual clauses between different parties, although playing a major role in this is really something to discuss about. And again, like certification can be really a stamp on it and say, okay, this is really a quality product that we can live, and that probably eases also discussions about liabilities, etc. So I leave you with that thought, and that's it from my side. Thank you.
Before you leave the stage, I just have one comment or question to you, because actually I think it's a very important you do at EFCA. So thank you very much for that, for all of us, I think. But I can hear that you're very close to decision makers in the European Union. So if you should give them just one advice, what would that be? What would be your best advice to them to make sure that we have the golden thread?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think it would not be one advice. I think it would be more than one advice. But I do think that, you know, the policymakers in Europe, they're really pushing towards digitalization. But they are, at the same time, they're still far away from what's happening. And I do think that they should also, aside from just making laws, also support initiatives that help you create that environment. They do already, but it should be more. Certainly, if you talk about the greener circular economy, that's something that is still missing, I think, and that's something that might be a good point to address there. So
your advice could be to them that they should support buildingSMART International?
That absolutely.
Okay,
that absolutely.
Let's give him a hand for that one. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you. And then we have our third speaker here in the session, and that is Ricardo Munguia. He's Global Head of Digital Construction and Data Management at Ferrovial Construction.
Yes, that's right.
And the title of your presentation is Better Information Management with Open Standards.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Okay, well, my name is Ricardo Munguia. I work for Ferrovial Construction. I'm the responsible of the digital construction department inside the company. Is the responsible for digitalizing the company, implementing technology, and taking value from the data. Okay, I have a very good team that is here present. Just 2 minutes to tell you, because many people maybe don't know us. We are the largest construction company in Spain in capitalization, the second in Europe. And we are also asset management developers, so we have several business. Our main assets in airports are Heathrow and JFK Terminal 1. In highways, 407 ETR in Canada and several managed lanes in the US. We do also construction and also energy. In terms of the 4 companies that we have, the main are promoters of assets. We are the only that really do the construction. And our main markets are United States by far, then Poland and then Spain. We also have presence in the United Kingdom, in LATAM, and mainly Chile, and in Australia as well. In the last Capital Market Day, our CEO presented this slide. I just copied his presentation. So this shows how our company really believes that digitalization and technology implementation is a key booster for the company. And I have tried to present the 3 slides in the same order. So what we are doing is digitalizing all the company with selecting several platforms as the main platform in the whole company. So we are not implementing one platform in one project. We are standardizing how we do things in the whole company, in every country in the world. We are taking value from the data we are collecting in that standard way, and we are implementing technology as a way to what we call in connected sites to implement BIM in the site to improve the efficiency of our cost. We design a platform map for the whole company, again, for all the projects. For design, we have a strong relation with Autodesk and EBA with them. We also have Bentley, but we have a more strong relation with Autodesk. Partnership with Microsoft globally for data. Human resources is Workday. We have our own ERP based on SAP, which is called Insight. For safety, because it's a global corporate solution, is Cority. And for project management, our main platform is Procore. I have drawn several software that we are using. There are more for sure, but the main platform that we are using nowadays is Procore. And we are selecting several partners for connected sites and technology in order to digitalize all the processes. What we are seeking is that all the information goes from one place to another. So we are seeking for open standards, for integration, for APIs, and to standardize how we do things. We digitalize a process when it gives more benefit than the effort it generates, and we are always seeking for the break-even point between standardization and benefit. I have drawn the last 4 years because our CEO deployed what he called the Abacus project, which is an implementation strategy between 2020 and 2024. So the first year we seek all the platforms globally, and we did a very hard effort seeking for benefits, costs, a very deep analysis of all the platforms. In 2021, we tested the 2 best solutions. In that time, we selected or we draw our own digitalization strategy globally, and we got agreement with our CEO, with our business directors, with our design department and bidding as well. And in 2022, we began the whole global implementation in all the company. In the meantime, we began several agreements with technology, and we began a very aggressive training plan across the whole organization. We travel to the sites, we travel to the geographies, and we do personal training of digital, of BIM, technology, LiDAR, etc. Last year, it was the ongoing of that implementation, and we kept on achieving agreements with third parties. And this year, by the end of this year, we will have all our sites in all the geographies fully digitalized. So from the superintendent to the supervisor to our providers to our client, everybody is using tablets. All the processes are digitalized in a standard way, so we are collecting data, and with that data, we are selecting or we are taking better decisions. Maybe you think this is easy, but believe me, it's not easy at all. The benefit of our department is that we are all people that come from site. So we all were project directors. So we speak the same language as the business. We did the definition of the plan. We established what we wanted to achieve, when, and how. And we have been doing a follow plan every year to check if we were complying with the plan. Currently, we have overpassed our first estimation by 45%. There are several BIM uses. Everybody knows. We were the first company that implemented global ISO certification in Spain and the first in several other countries. And I will show you some of the BIM use cases that we are using with what I call connected sites in order to achieve or take the BIM uses directly to the improvement of the project. For example, we are in most of our projects, we are collecting 360 cameras that goes and collects the information of program monitoring. We can visualize that with the BIM model. We can take quantities using artificial intelligence, and we can use it as well for certification. This is improving our time and our efficiency and our cost. With LiDAR or other types of camera, we are using LiDAR cameras and thermal. So we are automatically doing the progress monitoring. The thermal detects the temperature, so we know the strength of the concrete. The LiDAR detects the surface, so we know the volume, the surface of scaffolding, and the volume of the concrete. So we do progress monitoring, we do quantitative certification and schedule improvement, because we can reduce the time by knowing when the concrete gets the strength. With as well LiDAR, we do quality checkout, we do 3D visualization, and as built. We have measured 5% of reducement in cost when the client is asking us for as built. In terms of connected machinery, when we do the design, we send the design to the machinery, and that is through augmented reality, we can check or make easier that work. We have measured a reduce of time, so reduce of cost, so reduce of carbon emission of up to 30%. With guided machinery, augmented reality, or with autonomous machinery, the one of the top. So this, for us, these are the BIM uses that we want in construction, the one that takes us to reduce costs and be more efficient, and as well to be more sustainable. With augmented reality and virtual reality, we are taking in indoor, but as well as outdoor reality. And as well for training, we are reducing the accidents by checking the psychosocial behavior of people in virtual scenarios. With augmented reality, we are taking or reducing the time of surveyor as well. So we have the BIM uses of 3D visualization, surveyor, and health and safety. And we have achieved really important benefits. And several other use cases of BIM, like construction phase, only for specific cases, not for everything. For the simulation as well with Adif projects. And with the information we are collecting, we have deployed what we call Carbon Tool, which is allowing us to do the real estimation of carbon emission, not only from EPDs. We have the database of the whole cost of the construction, not only materials, but the whole phase, transportation, manufacturing, everything. We have achieved reduction of carbon emission by up to 30%, and we are deploying our own parametric design tools. Because in design, there is the more impact that you can generate in the whole cost of the construction. But you cannot do that without data from construction that tells you the real cost of doing things. For us, this is the real benefit of BIM, information that we manage from construction and operation to design. And the last BIM use I brought here is the asset management. We have deployed our own platform. We have got agreement on break-even point between design, construction, and operational management. And we have designed the BIM uses we want in each stage in order that all the information goes from design and gives really real use. So we are not taking everything to the BIM model. We are only taking the information that really gives value, and the rest in open formats to the operational platform. And that's all. I promise to be on time. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ricardo. I don't have any question for you, but as you say, it is not easy. It's very impressive that you have built what you have done. You're a true front runner, and you have all digitalized. You have data, AR, VR as built. You have everything, and it's not easy, but you have done a very hard work. So give him a big hand. Thank you. Thank you. And then we have our last speaker in this session, our fourth speaker, that is Julien Moutte from Bentley System, where you are Chief Technology Officer. We look very much forward to hear what you say, because you will tell us about digital twins. And I heard people talking about it in the break here. It's a big, I look forward to what you're going to hear. Tell us. Thank you.
It's an active topic indeed. Buenos días, bienvenidos. I'm very happy to welcome you to Spain. You might not guess it from the French-sounding name, but I've been living here in Spain for 23 years. And it's really a country I love, and I'm sure that if you're able to enjoy Valencia those few days, or maybe stay over for the weekend, you will see what I mean by that. Thanks for having me in this panel and to be able to speak across those great speakers. I'll try to bring a different kind of perspective on the golden thread. Now to introduce the concept, I'd like to recall some of the points we discussed last year. Indeed, it's only been a year since I've met a lot of you at buildingSMART in Rome. And so much of what we've discussed back then is relevant to this topic of the golden thread. And a lot has happened since then, making it even more actual and relevant. Last year, we talked about digital twins. We highlighted the impressive outcomes they were unlocking for their adopters. We discussed about the substantial data integration projects they represented or required. And as it was so important for you when you were making this investment in your data to ensure that this was safe and durable by choosing open standards like OpenBIM, but also open source and interoperable APIs. Some of the great projects we've looked at were very inspiring, like the planning, the design, and the construction of a high-speed train line in Jakarta, or also how to orchestrate the assembly of gigantic magnets for the tokamak, which is at the core of the nuclear fusion reactor we are building in France. But also how to ensure access to drinkable water to the citizens of Brazil by monitoring and optimizing the network through drones. And finally, how to optimize the maintenance of a big airport like Sydney's. We've seen that creating digital twins was relevant and valuable at every possible stage of the life cycle of an infrastructure asset. Now, as I've said, a lot has changed since then. Some things have gone worse. The pressure on the infrastructure engineers and also the severe droughts we're experiencing here in Spain, while the north of France, for instance, has never seen so much rain and floodings. But getting back to the pressure on infrastructure engineers and the engineering firms, the number of engineers is decreasing because the workforce is aging and retiring, and the number of civil engineers coming out of schools is not sufficient to cover for that. Also, the governments are investing massively to modernize the infrastructure. The sustainability requirements are increasing fast. And like I said, climate change is triggering events and catastrophes that are pushing our existing infrastructure to its limits. The demand for digital deliverables is emerging, which is a positive news, but the data is spread across an increasing number of silos, making the governance of said data even more complex. Now, some positive things, though, have taken hold and have shown a lot of interest, like the introduction last year at NextDev of the future AEC software specification, which is capturing and articulating some of the pain points that engineers are facing with the software they use every day. And we've read it very carefully. There's also the massive success and uptake of generative AI and all the questions it triggered for our industry. I've spoken to a lot of AEC firms and owner-operators over the last 12 months, and I'm happy to report that things are changing. Indeed, all those factors, positive or not, they are pushing us in the right direction. They are taking us out of our comfort zone. There is an ever-increasing appetite to transform how our industry works. Well, transform how, you might ask? Well, for some, the creation of going digital, the creation of digital deliverables and models, for some was considered until now as a nice to have when compared to the established processes and the drawings. Reusing those same deliverables, those same digital models during the construction phase to plan, to schedule, to track, but also to manage the contracts, the litigations and the conflicts was considered visionary. But then keeping those models and updating them as the construction is happening so that they truly reflect what was built and make them the foundation of operations and maintenance was almost unheard of. And I'm sure that everybody in the room here has had to wrap their heads around how to apply AI in your work processes, how to make and gather that data and make it available to machines and machine learning systems in a safe and responsible way without putting you, your company, or your customers at risk. There's a call for help from many, many stakeholders in the industry to join forces and to evangelize and transform how infrastructure is being designed, built, and operated. Now, there's a common theme in a lot of those conversations I've had and a lot of things I've heard. This idea, and I think we all share that same dream, the idea of a golden thread. A continuous data flow that is compounding value and that is increasing across processes, tools, and stakeholders across the life cycle of an infrastructure asset. What I mean by that is that our old ways of doing things is mostly articulated around end-overs. And at each of those end-overs, data loss and rework are happening. Going digital and embracing open standards like OpenBIM are massive advancements to reducing those data loss and rework. They're also making the transitions, those end-overs between stakeholders, more seamless. You can also build a digital twin on each of those segments of that life cycle of the asset. But you still have that disconnected process. You still have those handovers, although they are a bit smaller, right? Now, one single digital twin could have been created and handed over from one phase to another. I believe our dream looks a lot more like this. Because indeed, the handovers are moving boundaries, processes between stakeholders. One engineering firm might be doing one small part of that cycle today and almost all of it tomorrow. The data, though, like the real infrastructure asset, must be continuous and persistent. This is the essence of what a digital twin must be. It gets enriched progressively and is the data vehicle that is transferred between engineers and tools and stakeholders and processes. So what does this mean for us? Oh, sorry, I wanted to add something. The digital twin is the fabric of the golden thread. It strengthens and it quickly grows into something that would call a golden braid or golden rope that is composed of data streams that are coming from OpenBIM and standards, but it's actually more than that. There's also the survey data, the IoT data, the sensors, etc. So what does this all mean to us as a software vendor for the AC industry? Well, first, it means that our products, our tools, must create, leverage, and enrich digital twins in all the actions the users and the engineers do with those products. Now, don't get me wrong. You should still be able to use your application of choice, create and open a file, import and export in the file formats we've all been using for decades. But it's so much better if that same application is able to open a digital twin and you can pick up the work where you left it and continue enriching that same digital twin from one application to another, from one engineer to another. Secondly, we must make digital twin collaborative by nature. We've seen that collaborating on top of files is painful, and this was actually captured by the team that worked on this future AEC software specification. Engineers need to be able to track their changes, to be able to create a branch to explore alternatives, but also then to push those changes back with a process that is governing how the data gets merged and regrouped. And third, we must create the features, the capabilities in our products to orchestrate the supply chain on top of that golden thread, on top of that digital twin and that value chain. Indeed, you need to be able to divide the work in packages that can be assigned to contractors, giving them access to data on a need-to-know basis, while preserving the connection to the source of truth and allowing the data to flow back and forth. This is at the core of our strategy. We're strong believers that digital twins are the foundation that it can really help infrastructure being more sustainable, more resilient. But they are also the necessity for us to be able to deliver on this promise of the golden thread by uniting the portfolio of our products across the creation of those digital twins. Now, you've heard me mention AI and generative AI quite a few times over the last 10 minutes. And I think this is a key benefit of having a golden thread we should not ignore. Indeed, the golden thread is bringing a lot of data together. Every data point, every correlation matters to be able to extract the value from it using AI and machine learning. Also, a lot of the data that is generated across the life cycle of an asset is very sensitive. Many infrastructure are critical infrastructure. And also the data that is assembled there, much of it comes from engineers. This is their creative, their proprietary work. It has to be governed efficiently. There's also a lot of concerns and problems with the rights around data usage. The golden thread brings all of that data together, and it's providing very valuable insights to every stakeholder at every phase of the life cycle. For instance, being able to take into consideration the future performance, resilience, efficiency of a design, while the engineer is doing the design work is very important. But on the other extreme of the spectrum, being able to have the information about the design intent, the changes and compromises that are to be made during construction is going to prove so valuable in the future during a critical operation event, and it might save life and increase safety. The golden thread is bringing all of that data together and makes it possible to unleash the full power of AI. This will also be the possibility for all of us to control and bring the governance around that data that is much required. I'm really looking forward to discuss with you over the next few days and also with the team that is here available at our booth about how we can contribute in making that golden thread a reality and how can we extract all the value from it. Thank you for attention. And I know in Spain, one of the problems is that we tend to have lunch and dinner pretty late, so I've tried to be short and release you early. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I just have one question to you before you leave the stage, because it was very nice to hear. It was for me, it was kind of a future image you made, but maybe it's not. So that's why I want to ask you, how far away are we from making these digital twins in each time we deliver the project?
So how far are we? I think as we've seen today, there are quite a few companies that are doing already the extra mile in creating those digital twins. But today it's still a big effort. As Ricardo was just highlighting, it takes a lot of work, right? I think we see an acceleration because everybody starts to see the value around this. And I think on our side, we have a strong role to play to make sure that the tools we provide are facilitating the creation of that golden thread of all those digital twins. And that is one of the key aspects we're working on. It's one of our strong point of focus to make sure that as you use those tools every day and you get the benefit that they provide, the digital twin is created for you transparently and systematically and unleashing a lot more value potential after that.
Yeah, thank you. That's a good note to go on lunch with, I think. A future image that is not so far away and that AI can help us in the golden thread. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
And have a good lunch, everybody. Thank you for now.